All right, I wanted to make a quick video about this book, Sell Like Crazy, by Sabri Suby. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Sabri. If I'm not, I apologize. But he is a marketing wizard in Australia. He's from Australia. And he put together this book, Sell Like Crazy. And I bought it based on a recommendation from a friend, and they said this book is great. And there's a lot of people say, "Oh, this book is great. This book is great," but this book is great. It is an excellent read. And thank you, Sabri, for this book, because this I've read over maybe 800 books now, and I've only kept maybe 5 to 10 books in my whole career of reading. And this is definitely one that I'm going to keep. So as you know, if you know me well, or if you've watched any of my other videos, I sell books. As I read them, I put them back on Amazon and I sell them. So it's kind of my way of reading for free. But this one, I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to keep it as a reference because it's kind of like a Bible. And I'm going to start recommending it to a lot of people. I recommend to anyone, even if doesn't matter how far along you are in business or if you're just starting, it is for anyone that is interested in business in any way, in any degree. Again, from if you're just starting or if you're already crushing it, it has things in it that you're like, there's nuggets in it. And what's interesting is I have tons of email series for all different businesses, drip series running out, and he does a really good job of summarizing or putting together how to make an email series effective. And while I was reading it, it was kind of embarrassing because I'm reading his methods and I'm like, Jesus, my things are like pretty are lacking compared to what he's talking about how to do. And he's absolutely right. When I read it, I'm like, yep, he's nailing it here. So it caused me, I just finished the book yesterday, it caused me to spend all day today going over all my email series. It took hours, going through every single email, checking the wording, checking the subject line, the heading, just totally revamping. They weren't awful, but just like totally revamping the process, the progression of the drip, how often they drip, what time they drip. And I'm talking about the email drip series, which is one of the 39 lessons that I show you how to set that up. So that's how powerful this book was. That my businesses are making pretty decent money, but even still, I'm reading books like this and learning from them. So it doesn't matter how far along you are. And I'm not saying I'm like super far along. I'm just saying that I thought my systems were in good shape, but then I read this book and I'm like, I could use some work. So be humble. I guess the lesson there is be humble about what you think you know. Like somebody could have recommended this book and said, sell like crazy. And I'm like, I already sell enough. Like I know how to sell. Like I could have been cocky about it, right? But I wasn't. And I said, okay, I have a rule. Whenever somebody recommends a book to me, I don't question it. I just buy it instantly. Like while they're talking, I'm on Amazon on my phone and I buy the book. And when they're finished talking, the book is already shipping to my house. So I've learned to be humble. Don't think you know everything. And this is a perfect example because I don't know everything there is to know about this. And this guy totally kills it. And what's interesting in the book, so if you know me at all or any other videos you've watched of me, I talk about go read. I really promote reading. Reading really changes your life. It's the most simple thing you can do that really changes your life positively, exponentially positively. There's only upside. Like nobody ever said, I wish I didn't read that book, later in life. It's always like, I wish I did more with my life. Well, how do you do more with your life? Go read books and then you learn more and you have more answers to problems in life and then you solve more problems and you have a better, more enjoyable life. So what's interesting though I found in this book is that he says in the book, I've read over 1,000 books, most of them on persuasion, sales, marketing in that area. And he said he's made over 1 million cold calls. 1 million cold calls. Think about that. So this guy, I think he makes 10 million a year in his this author. He makes 10 million a year in his marketing company. I think it's called King Kong Marketing or something like that. You can Google it, but he makes over 10 million a year. And does he deserve to? Yes, he's read 1,000 books on the topic. He's made 1 million cold calls. Like, how many have you made? How many have I made, right? So whenever you think success is easy, you got to look at what people have done to get there. And it's not easy. You got to put that work in. You got to read the books, put the work in, make the phone calls, write the email series. You got to do all the work. You got to learn all the things you need to learn so that you can deserve whatever level you want to get to. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying everybody wants to get to $1 billion. That's not, it probably shouldn't be everybody's goal. It's not my goal. But if you're here, wherever you are, and you want to be here, you probably have to do work to get there. And work means go read the books, learn the things you need to learn, implement the things you learn into your life and in your business, and then you will reap the rewards. So I just found that interesting that in the book he says he's read over 1,000 books and he's made over 1 million cold calls. So imagine what he's learned making all those cold calls, right? Like how many people shut him down. So how he, within the first, say, 1,000 calls, you would learn pretty quickly what not to say, what to say, so that you get a more effective next 1,000. So I bet now when he makes a cold call, he's like probably a wizard. He just closes the deal no matter what. So to go through this book quickly, I'll just go through the table of contents. So it says, think like a billionaire. And that's basically how to set up your mind to know, like a billionaire wouldn't worry about these little tiny details. They're thinking more big picture. So how to set up your mind to think more big picture. He talks about the $500,000 learning curve. So how much money he spent to learn what he had to learn and passing that knowledge on to the reader. What else? Phase 1, understand and identify your dream buyer. So that means he gets really in depth. And this is like a blueprint for if you already have a business and you don't know how to scale it. It doesn't matter if you just started it yesterday or if you've already been running it for a year or 5 years or 10 years. If you want to scale it, there are things in this book that will tell you how to scale it. A lot of the things I've done and they work. So like it's nice to read a book when you're like, yep, that works. Yeah, and you're kind of confirming it. And like I said, there's a few nuggets for me. So I took those out of the book. But how to identify your dream buyer. And he gets really into how to find who your dream buyer would be. So think about who your customer would be. And you can't be general, like women between 25 and 35. That's way too general. It's got to be like, what kinds of women? Do they have children? How much money do they make? Like there's so many fine details, and he talks about really refining that so that you can target the right audience, so that you're not wasting marketing money on the wrong audience. If you target the exact people that want to buy your things, almost every dollar you spend marketing makes $1 back, or like 10 times more back, because the customer closes the deal, right? So that's phase 1. Phase 2, create the perfect bait for your dream buyer. So he talks about how to, when somebody lands on your website, how do you get them to become a customer? And it doesn't mean how do you get them to give you money as soon as they land on your website. It's how do you turn them into a customer over time? And the idea there is you give them, what does he call it? A high value content offer, high value offer, I think he calls it, where they land on your site and then in exchange for their email or phone number, you give them something in return. Like for example, on my businesses, they land on my site and I say, give me your email and I'll send you a price list in 2 minutes. And so that's like, most people want to know what the price is to do whatever the work they're doing with me, right? So here's a price list. And so that kind of, I get tons of emails every day from that. But it could be like, here's a free ebook, here's a training video I made, I'll email it to you. So you trade email for some high value thing that the person's looking for. Phase 3, capture leads and get contact details, which is similar to so we talked in the phase 2, he talks about what bait to use, and then phase 3 is how to capture those leads. So it's kind of the same thing. Phase 4, the Godfather strategy, which is make them an offer they can't refuse. That's what the Godfather is. So you make them an offer they can't refuse, and which is all tied into this high value thing you're going to give them, and then they're going to give you the email. Traffic, where to get traffic from. He talks all about what SEO is, how to get SEO done properly. Again, SEO is one of the 39 lessons. I teach it. My SEO guy teaches it too. So you can learn all this stuff in the 39 lessons too. But I highly recommend reading this book. But he talks about SEO, Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Instagram ads, like where to get traffic, all the places you can get traffic, and all like the best places to get it for certain businesses and different businesses. All the details, it's an amazing, the way he put it together is really, really well done. Phase 6, the magic lantern technique. And he calls it that, I forget why he calls it that, but it's basically, you're not trying to sell the customer. So you get their email based on the high content offer that you're giving, or high value offer you're giving them. And then they give you their email, and then you email them, but you don't say, hey, here's this thing, buy it in the first email. You wait maybe 8 to 9, 10 emails before you ask them to buy anything. You just give them value. Email 1, value. Email 2, value. Like, educate them on your business, what you do, the 5 things you didn't know about hiring a photographer, if you're a photographer, right? So give them value. You drip out these emails, and again, how to make a drip series is in the 39 lessons. So give them value. And he talks about that at each step. Each email 1 should be something about this, email 2 this, email 3, and he talks about each email what it should be. So I think it's he explains that very well. Sales conversion, so then he talks about how to get to the end, when you get to the end of all these emails, and how to convert them into sales. So now you've given them so much value, how do you start getting the money in return, right? And this isn't like being unethical or anything, this is just how to do online business, it's just how it works. Automate and multiply, and that's how to email effectively. So once you figure out what works, now you can make another series, another email drip series that does the same thing but more effectively. You see what worked in the first one, you make a second one and a third one. You just keep automate and multiply. You just automate your system and multiply it. Keep doing it over and over, and that's basically the book. So it's a blueprint of how to really scale your business. Take it from wherever it is and shoot it up really quickly. I love this book so much. I added it to my book page. I'll put the link in below this video. But I added this book to the book page because it's just I put it in the section of best books best books on how to start a business. So it's in that section. If you scroll down on the book page, you'll see the different sections. You can buy the book right from there. So just click it. It takes you to Amazon. Buy the book. I highly recommend this book. And there's also tons. I mean, there was another good one that was in first place for me for a while. It was Conversion Code by Chris Smith. Also, it's pretty much the same book. What's interesting is when you start reading books on the same topic, and you'll see that other people say the same thing just in their own words. So Chris Smith's book, The Conversion Code, is basically the same as this, but I like a little bit more how he explains this. But I'd say read both books. Both books are just like genius, gold nuggets in there. And there's tons of books on that book page. If you know anything about me, I read tons of books, and I stress people read books way more than they do. And it bothers me a little bit how much people don't read. People that complain about their lives, that are like, I want to do this or I want to do that, and I'm like, they're asking me for advice, and I'm like, well, I read this book and it would really help you. I read this book and it would really help you do that, and you would learn this in this book. And I give them like a pile of books to read, and they're just like, yeah, I don't like reading. Like, well, what do you want? Nobody likes reading. It's like something you have to do. And like, who is born? I just love reading. It's very rare. I think like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, maybe, like very few people are born loving reading. You have to kind of learn how to love it. So learn how to eliminate the issues your brain invents about reading. For example, it's too hard, I can't focus, it's too expensive, I don't have time, like all these things. And I'll quickly go like, it's too hard. Well, anything's hard. You have to just do it anyway. It's not like you're not sweating, it's not hard work. Just read, like it's pretty easy. I don't have time. One thing about a book is it's a 200-page manual. Typically, books are 200 pages. And if you think that one page is 1 minute to read, then that's 200 minutes, or about 3 hours and 15 minutes, 3 hours and 20 minutes of total reading time. So it's only 3 hours. Like, how many movies and Netflix things do you watch per week? You watch way more hours than that than a 3-hour book. So you're kind of just telling yourself, I don't have time. Everybody has time. You're just not making time for this, right? And once you realize it's only 3 hours, like when I realized the book is only 3 hours of reading time, I said like, well, there's no reason I can't read 2 to 3 books a week easily. Like I don't have 6 to 9 hours, even 10 hours. I can't set that aside in a week, like in 7 days. I can't do that. Yeah, I can. So then I started reading 2 to 3 books a week. Life changed instantly. Within like a couple of months, I started getting these important books under my belt, which I put the most important 150 books on my book page. I highly recommend just pick one and buy it and then read it, and then pick another one, buy it and read it, and just go through those. And those are the most important books I've ever read that really changed my thinking. So I prioritize reading. And then the other one that people say is I can't afford it. I don't have money. I can't buy books. I don't have any money. But then the thing is, what I teach is, and it's one of the 39 lessons, but it's also like a pretty simple thing. Buy the book on Amazon and then sell the book on Amazon and just like give it back, right? So like you're kind of just reading for free. Sometimes with the cost of shipping, it's a little more than what you paid for it, so you lose a couple bucks, but then sometimes you make a little more than what you paid. So you make a couple bucks, it kind of balances out over time. But like, so those 3 excuses people have for not reading is like, there's no excuse anymore. I just gave you no excuse. And you know that it exponentially makes your life better. So go take it a little more seriously and put the hours in for these books instead of hours. Like you can do hours of Netflix, but also make sure you're putting hours aside for books. If you want to change your life, just read books. It's that simple. And this guy also said it in his book that I've read over 1,000 books. So why do you think he's making $10 million a year? Because he's read 1,000 people's expert opinion on whatever topic he was reading about. So he's got that knowledge in his brain. So that's why he makes that much money. And he says it in his book. Like that's why he's successful. So and ask anybody else, like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, anybody read tons of books during their career. They plow through books, they learn what they need to learn, and they apply it to their life, their business, and they get very successful that way. So go to the book page. You'll see this book on the section best books on how to start a business, and I think this one's on the number 1. So just you can grab it. Again, conversion code. There's a few in there. Social Media Made Me Rich. That one's really good. All the books on my page, I've read every single one, and every single one is highly, highly recommended. If you go through them slowly, like I said, I read 2 to 3 books a week. If you read 1 book a week, that's 50 books a year. It would take you a couple of years to get through all those books on the book page, but they're the best books that I've ever read and highly recommended, not only by me, they're just very, very popular books that everybody should read, in my opinion. So go check that out, go on the book page, and hopefully this book really helps you, because it's a really good book. So to the author, thank you for that book. It really helped me, and I think it'll help a lot of other people too. Thank you.